So here we go. Okay, we're officially recording. Welcome to the week one go to training session for Project and Portfolio 2 Business and Marketing. Such a formal name for such a simple class. We do research and analysis. We choose the brand, we do the research, we analyze it, and then we come up with recommendations. That's the whole 4 weeks. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it?
It sounds
You're not scared, are you?
simple.
So I'm teaching section one. So if you're in section one, I'm Nikki and I'm your instructor. And Jim is apparently shy, or either
Well, I'm slouched out here at home, but and I'm looking for my. There it is.
he's probably
No,
he's probably in a t-shirt drinking a beer. He just doesn't want to tell
I'm
you.
not drinking. I'm not drinking a beer. I am in a t-shirt, but I don't see my camera actually.
But Jim Mullins is handling section two. So if you're in section two, Jim will be your instructor this month. But today and today only, you get two for the price of one. I know how excited you are about that.
They were jumping off the walls when you told them what we were going to do.
I know.
Yeah, yay, yay.
If you're a campus student, you're taking my research class and another instructor's accounting class in the same month. I just can't tell you how excited the students are about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they talk.
So we would love to hear a little bit about you guys. Please go ahead and chime in and let us know where home is for you, where you're talking to us from right now, and what you would like to do when you finish graduation. Anthony, are you available? Can you chime in and say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Anthony, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And what I want to do when I graduate is I want to really get into branding and being a brand manager and work on brand extensions and stuff like that. And, be part of an agency to build that momentum and build the experience. So,
Very
Are
cool.
you in the internet marketing program, Anthony?
yes, I am.
Okay. That explains it. Yeah, it's strictly an online program, but it sounds like a great career move. I wish
Oh,
you.
definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Ingrid, how are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Great. So happy to be with you guys. Okay. Tell us where home is for you and what you would like to do after graduation.
I am from Dallas, Fort Worth area in Texas, and I'm a sports marketing and media major, and I would like to work for a professional basketball team on their marketing team.
Now, do you have a favorite team?
I do. The
Oh,
San Antonio Spurs.
okay. There we go. I was wondering if it was
Well,
going to
let
be
me.
Mavs or what, since you're, a Dallas
All
girl.
right, I want to ask the tell-all question.
Oh, no.
Okay, so here's the situation. You finish Full Sail. You have a job offer with the Mavericks. Do you take it?
I think I'll have to hold out for the Spurs.
Girl, you better
That's not
take
the
it,
right.
girl.
That's not the right answer. That's not what I was looking for.
Hey, we can all dream,
No, I
right?
would be open to any position. I would be open to any position in the NBA realm. I actually like Adidas too. Maybe I could work for them. They work with
Yeah.
NCAA basketball teams. Um, so I'm pretty much open. I just kind of want to center my focus around sports, and it would be my dream to work for the San Antonio Spurs.
Awesome.
I think it's great to have a favorite team. I personally don't. I'm not really into athletics very much, right, Nikki?
Oh, no. Jim especially hates football.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
but
will not talk to you about football at
yeah,
all,
no,
especially not
but
SEC football and definitely not Alabama football.
yeah, I'll
He'll
fill
turn
you
off
in
his
later.
computer and go home.
But I was going to say, Eric Saperstein told me, I don't know, a few years ago we were talking, and I told him about a lot of my students who were into sports, who wanted to work in sports, and they couldn't get past being a fan. And he said, when they hire them at ESPN, they'll send them on an assignment to a rival of their favorite team just to see how they handle it.
That's a really brilliant move. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, you can always dream. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to start cultivating connections within the Spurs organization as soon as you can, because you never know what that might lead to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
You know
can
who
do that.
Robert Horry is?
Yes, Robert Ory.
Yeah. Big shot.
Yes. Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay. He was a graduate of the University of Alabama. I'm proud to say. Just wanted to put that plug in there.
Moving on.
Okay, back to you, Nikki.
Actually, it's back to Tiki. I want to find out where Tiki's from
Okay.
and what Tiki would like to do upon graduation from Full Sail University.
Well, I'm Tiki. I am originally from Chicago, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. Thanks to the military, brought me here. I was stationed at Fort McPherson. But what I want to do when I graduate is be like an executive assistant for either at a music label or at a television network like MTV, BT, Revolt, VH1. That's the type of thing I want to do.
Cool. Hey, MTV needs help. They need to be renovated. They're from the 80s.
Well,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for saying hello. Vanessa, where are you from? What are you going to do when you graduate?
I am from Rockford, Illinois, and I currently own my own business, and I'm attending school to improve my knowledge and just enhance it for my existing business.
My college roommate was from the Quad Cities.
Okay.
She went to Beedorf High School, and she and I were roommates in college in Iowa City.
Okay, yeah, it's like 45 minutes or so from me.
Very close. Yep. So we drove back and forth a little bit.
Always fun.
All right. Did I miss anybody? How about Jim? Jim, can you tell us about yourself in 75 words or less?
I can't say hello in 75 words or less.
I know.
My background was actually in healthcare, and I was a hospital administrator and group practice administrator for a number of years. I have been at Full Sail for 9.5 years. About 15, or gosh, I hate to think it's 20 years ago, I started taking acting lessons, and I've been in maybe 40 films. Nothing recently, just time-wise. When I have been invited, I haven't been able to do anything. But so I've always kind of been interested in that. I've been, as I said, I've been at Full Sail 9.5 years. I'm from Alabama originally. I've been in Florida for a long time. So I've been down here and have rust. I don't have a tan. I have rust. I've been down here so long. It just looks like a tan. And I am an Alabama fan. So I don't have a pro team, but I'm I'm into college sports more, and I always pull for whichever team has the most Alabama alumni on it.
So that's Jim in a nutshell. Very truthful about who he is. So I've been at Full Sail for about 8 years. I'm actually a Midwestern girl. I'm from Missouri, and as such, I was actually into basketball quite a bit growing up, especially when we were still in the Big 8. And then it became the Big 12, and then it went to the SEC. And I would say that we've had mixed success in the SEC so far, some highs and some lows. But I'm looking forward to the future. And I, too, am a college athletics fan, not so much professional sports. It's more of a show. It's more entertainment in professional sports. And the NCAA, although there are some problems, I think still has I don't know. I just kind of like the academic angle. So,
well, Tiki's in Atlanta, so she can get us tickets to the SEC championship game.
Oh, really?
Right, Tiki?
I'm not a fan of sports at all. So,
listen, Jim. As soon as you did that, she muted herself.
Yeah, we always lose them. When we start asking them to do things, we always lose them.
I know. So I've been here in Florida for almost 20 years, and I moved down here on purpose because, as you know, the further north you go, the more likely you are to get snow. And I prefer sunshine. So I'm here very much on purpose, and I really enjoy my job at Full Sail, and I love Full Sail students, and I think you guys are pretty awesome. So thanks for being here. And thanks for sharing a little bit about yourselves, too. What we do in the portfolio classes, as you probably discovered, is we use it as an opportunity to kind of mix and match and reuse lessons and skills from our recent previous classes and come up with a really cool asset that we would like to upload onto our digital portfolios and use that to show the world what we can do, whether it be a potential employer, lender, partner, whatever. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. This is just to give you like an overview, an anchor of what's going to happen this month and what some of our high level objectives are. And we'll spend a couple of minutes talking about a few major assignments as well. So here's kind of how it goes. We talk about why we analyze in the first week, and we get some initial research out of the way. We introduce you to some really useful analysis tools in the second week, and then we practice what we preach in the third week, and we draw very heavily from your Introduction to Marketing class. And then in the fourth week, we put it all together in a professional market analysis report. Now, if this is your first foray into college, you may not have been called upon to do a formal business report before, so this will be a great way for you to get your feet wet, so to speak. And in about a year from now, you will be in your capstone course, which is your final course before you graduate, and you'll be tasked with doing a bigger, more comprehensive business analysis report. So this is a really good way to kind of introduce you to that. Now, here's my question, and anybody can pipe up or type in the chat box down there. What do you think research and analysis is useful for? Why would we want to analyze a company?
For strengths, weaknesses.
Okay.
For strengths, yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit about the SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely want to know what the strengths and the weaknesses are within the company that we've been tasked to research. And Ingrid says to predict the future, and it's absolutely accurate. Part of what research and analysis is identifying trend lines and projecting them into the future, so that we can take advantage of where the market is going and be there and take advantage of those consumers as they arrive. You don't want to be chasing consumers. You want to bring them to you. It's much more lucrative. Okay. Welcome, Jarrell. If you would like to unmute yourself for a minute and tell us where home is for you and what you would like to do after you graduate, we'd love to know.
Oh, say the last part again.
Just tell us where you're from and what you'd like to do when you graduate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for saying my name right. Most people get it wrong. But I am from West Palm Beach, well, Riviera Beach, Florida.
All right.
I would like to be in a place where I can help with content creation. I just learned how to edit videos and just things like that, create content, marketer coordinator, something like that.
There are so many businesses that could use that skill. I think that's a great career plan. I like that very much. Is there anybody that we missed? Is there anyone that I didn't give an opportunity to talk? Vanessa, did you come late? Your name looks unfamiliar.
No, but
We talked.
Did we talk? I'm sorry. Okay, great.
Vanessa's got
We didn't talk much, but we talked.
Okay, good. Vanessa has also shared with us that we use research and analysis to learn about how brands or companies differ from each other. That's an excellent point because we can use that to establish a competitive differentiator and a way for us to create a brand positioning statement for our brand that makes us feel unique and gives consumers a reason to buy us instead of somebody else. Here's a great example. McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, and Starbucks all sell the exact same beverage, coffee, right? And you make it pretty much the same way. They all make coffee out of Arabica beans by filtering hot water through ground up coffee beans that have been roasted. Which one do most people feel is perhaps the most popular or the most prestigious of the three? Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Of course. Why? They all sell coffee. It's the same Arabica bean. Ingrid says branding. Correct. Tiki, you probably know this too.
Perception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Competitive differentiator. Starbucks they have magically created a brand that makes you want to buy their coffee, perhaps more so than other coffees. Vanessa says that it's a toss-up between Dunkin' and Starbucks. That probably has to do with taste preference. Starbucks can charge almost twice as much for a cup of coffee as McDonald's or Starbucks does.
Yeah.
And it's the same darn thing. No, great example. As we push on, we're going to keep coming back to the topic of marketing in different ways, and we'll kind of demonstrate that to you as we move through these slides. So thank you for participating. Okay. Please read Welcome to Portfolio 2, which is the very first activity at the very top of your class page, and read through the whole thing. And if you have any immediate questions, that'll probably answer a bunch of them for you. It gives you late policy, basically, unless you're, sick or injured and have documentation, you need to get your work in on time. But there are multiple ways to do that. Don't worry. You can use the Dropbox, or you can use, FSO. Shoot, I have had students email me papers that they tapped out on their phone, and they even uploaded pictures, and I accepted it because I got it before midnight. So, be resourceful if bad things happen, and leave yourself the time to turn in your work before midnight. Very good advice. Even though a lot of the activities are zero weighted, they include a little bit of information that is helpful for you or instructions on where to get more information. So do take a minute to do activities such as read, listen, and view. Many of the assignments are open well in advance of when they're due, like 2 weeks in advance, some of them 3 weeks in advance, because we don't want to surprise you. We want to give you an opportunity to really look at this stuff when you have time. We know that you are online students because you're busy, you're adults, you have families, you have jobs, and you need to be able to get to your work when you have an opportunity to. So we want to give you as much time as possible to do that. Please also don't ignore your email or your FSO platform for days at a time. We may have important messages for you. We may need to reach out to you because perhaps something that you uploaded was nothing but a blank template. And if you accidentally loaded the wrong thing and you have the right thing, and you can prove, through a date stamp that you actually did the work prior to the deadline, we might be talked into accepting it at a discount. But, if you ignore us, we probably will just give you the zero and move on. So please check your messages. And there might be some other interesting things that we want to share with you, like really cool go-to trainings with interesting graduates or other special guests who can share, good information with us. Any questions that you have about how class will proceed? Jim, anything you want to add?
Crystal clear.
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay.
We aren't bad people. We just want you to pay attention to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Envision the meme of us jumping up and down with red faces.
Yeah.
Envision that meme. Okay, so what we're going to do this month is we're going to focus virtually all of our research in one direction. We're going to ask you to pick a brand, and we're going to ask you to pretend that you are the analyst and the brand is your client. Right? And you're going to be doing research for this brand throughout the entire month. So this is a snowball assignment, whereas each individual assignment builds on the last. And you're going to be using all of those activities as your preliminary research, and you will use it to put together your professional business report, your market analysis report in week 4. So please don't, get lost and lose the idea that whatever you choose is what you stay with. Occasionally we'll have a student who goes off on a tangent and they'll do a different brand altogether on the discussion board, or they'll turn in a market analysis report that's has nothing to do with the research that they've done all month. I have no idea how this happens, but sometimes it happens. And so the really unfortunate thing about that is that they don't get any points for the work because it's nothing to do with the preliminary research. So just want to kind of emphasize that point. I trust you guys to read the instructions, and you probably won't make that mistake, but just in case. So our objective in the first week is to get some basic initial company research done. We're going to look at some financials. We're going to look at some competitors. We're going to look at some existing business lines within your brand. And then we're just going to kind of summarize those in findings. Okay? We start with findings. We take the raw data and we organize it, and we have findings. That's the beginning of our process. At the end of week 1, we hope that you are better at selecting valuable and credible sources as you do your research. And we just want you to be a little bit better at research than you were before. And we do provide some good resources for you. We have created library guides with the director of our library here at Full Sail, and they're specifically for us and for you. So you'll see those orange links in your instructions. Take a moment to click on them, and they will provide some helpful information about how to do useful searches and how to choose keywords, and how to differentiate a useful source from one that's maybe not as useful. Okay. Has anyone taken a look at the instructions for this initial company research activity, and do you have any questions before we move forward? Okay. I have looked at it, or I have questions. Looked. Okay, very good. Thanks, guys. Okay, so here's some important information that you need to know about your initial company research. It's very important that you choose a parent company that is publicly traded. In case you're not familiar with what a publicly traded company is, it's one where anyone in the world can buy a share of stock in that company. These are the companies that are available for purchase on stock exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. Okay. So you can wander into any broker's office, or you can go online to Scottrade or E-Trade or something like that, and you can pony up the cash and you can buy shares in any publicly traded company in the world. Congratulations, you're now the proud owner of 100 shares of
Coca-Cola.
Sony, right? Sony. As opposed to a private company that is only owned by a handful of people, and they don't have to make any of their financial information public. Right? Publicly traded companies have to make their financial information public. Privately traded companies do not. Hence, very important that whoever the parent company is for the brand that you choose is publicly traded so that you can find those financials. These are just several examples. As an example, Epic is a record label that belongs to Sony, the parent company. The New York Knicks is a brand that belongs to publicly traded Madison Square. Oh, Polo is a brand that belongs to publicly traded Ralph Lauren, and Ticketmaster is a brand that belongs to publicly traded Live Nation. So no matter what your interest is, you're going to find something that works for you. This will be your project all month. And another really important thing to share with you is that you want to make sure that the brand that you choose is right-sized. As an example, it would probably be difficult for you to choose Disney as a parent company and then attempt to analyze all of the ABC network, which is owned by Disney. Instead, you would want to go much deeper so that you had something that was easier to wrap your arms around. As an example, maybe you would want to research the new Avatar Pavilion at the Animal Kingdom Resort in Orlando, Florida. There would still be plenty of information available for you, but it would be pretty ridiculous to try to research an entire network or all Disney theme parks worldwide, as an example, in the roughly 2.5, 3 weeks that we have left together. And in the real world, no one would really ask you to do that. They're going to have a very specific question for you and a very, very narrowly defined set of parameters where they want you to dig up data and analyze it for them. Okay. Jim, what would you like to share?
Excuse me. I just will emphasize it by saying I agree with everything you said. You said it beautifully. Go the extra mile. Make sure that you have the publicly traded company. It's going to be so much easier for you to find information on it. I have students in the past who have heard that and have still gone ahead and tried to submit, a small company because they know the owner or something. You're not going to learn as much. I'm not going to say that small companies are bad companies, but you're not going to learn as much from studying a small company as you would if you were to study a large company and its organization. The way we learn so that we can have those small companies be successful is to learn all the stages of development and product development and marketing in all these other larger companies. So we learn, that's how we learn it. And then you're able to apply it to smaller companies if you work for one or if you own one. So just do your due diligence and make sure you can go on. You can look for, you can do Google searches for, stock price of, ABC company. And if you can't find it, it will come up and it will tell you something, and you may have to look around and you'll finally find out it's a private company or a privately held company. So they could have stock, but only the family may own it. And that's not what you want. You want it traded on the big board on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ or, through some other medium there. Right. So anyway, enough said.
No, thank you very much. If you guys are not sure or can't discover if your brand has a publicly traded parent company, feel free to shoot us a message and we'll help you discover whether it has a publicly traded parent or not. Let's see. I think that about covers it. Also, it looks like Jarrell has come up with a really good example here. Rather than research all of the Coca-Cola company, which is a global company, just research the Sprite brand. That would be much more realistic in the real world and much more realistic for our time frame. Excellent.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent.
Good point.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, not to dwell too much on the first assignment, but it is coming up in 3 days, so want to make sure that you're well situated. There is a PDF attached to your instructions for initial company research, and it shows you exactly how to obtain these 5 simple financial measures off of the yahoofinance.com website. Great website for getting really up-to-date information. And you can follow the PDF and just follow the arrows, and it's all mapped out for you. It should be really, really easy. If you're not familiar with these numbers yet, they're extremely basic, but they're also very telling at the same time. And if this is kind of your first foray into financials or reading financial statements of any kind, we hope that this brief introduction helps you understand what these numbers reveal. Just as a quick example, at the very top, if you were to look at a company's net income, what you're looking at is how much money they made for themselves after they paid all of the expenses that they had in order to produce a product or service for you. What that means in a nutshell is that however much it costs them to produce something, to package it, to market it, to transport it, to make it available to you at a retail outlet, whether it's online or at a bricks and mortar store, and then all of the other overhead that they might be involved with, such as their operational costs, their labor costs, their insurance costs. Once they deduct all of that from what you paid for their product or service, what's left over is the net income. And if that net income is pretty healthy, then what's going to happen to the stock price of the publicly traded company is that stock price is going to go up because more people are going to look at that company as valuable. And that's how it works.
All right. Ingrid had made a comment online about the annual reports. The subsidiary might not have an annual report. Sometimes they will be featured in an annual report. You're going to have to just look that up. The divisions of a company will not have an annual report. So if it's a division, which is it's more organized, more like a department of a company, it's not going to have a separate annual report. But if you have a subsidiary, it may have an annual report. If the subsidiary is owned in part by the parent and part by someone else, I'm trying to think of an example, and I'm not coming up with one, but I think it might have an annual report.
One example might be Rock Nation, which belongs to Jay-Z. He's under the Universal Music Group family of labels, but the Rock Nation management firm is also in partnership with Live Nation. So Universal and Live are two different companies. But that's that's something that's a one-off. We can worry about that if you run into that. Most of you are not going to choose something that complicated. If you do choose to do Live Nation, then what you'll choose to do is House of Blues, which is a brand underneath Live Nation. Vanessa says it does not have to be a subsidiary, does it? Honestly, Vanessa, it's a little bit better if it is. The deeper down you go, the easier time you're going to have to research something. As an example, you would not dare to try to research Nike. It's a global firm. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. However, you might be interested in just researching the LeBron shoe, as an example. Or the Air Force One line of athletic shoes, the basketball shoes, something like that. Yeah. If it's a very small company, Vanessa, it does not have to be a subsidiary. There are small publicly traded companies, in which case the parent and the brand that you're researching might be one and the same. Those happen to be the exception in our class just because there are fewer of them. But if you find one that you like and that you have some passion about, then you're more than welcome to, select that one. Again, if you have any questions, run it by us and we will help guide you. Okay. Tiki says, so we are choosing a parent company and researching them, or choosing a parent company and choosing a company under them? You're choosing a company under the parent company. The parent company is only for the financials. Financials only. After you get done looking at these 5 numbers that you see on the slide right here with the piggy bank, get away from the parent company. Don't be fooled and don't go back and try and research the whole parent company, because we will tell you about it and we'll say, stop doing that. Right?
Yeah, you might find a company that you're really interested in that is selling its stock on the New York Stock Exchange, and it might be small enough, just like Nikki said, it might be small enough that it doesn't really have any other subsidiaries. It just, it just has organized departments that you might find in any kind of an organization, like HR and finance and accounting and whatever else is there. So that's not going to present the difficulty, and so you under that circumstance, the financials that you look at would also be for the company that you'd research. But I think what Nikki's trying to say is, in entertainment and music, the companies are so large, the things that really galvanize our attention that we read about all the time are usually the really large companies, and to put our arms around that is just not realistic. So whereas a small company might hire you to come in and help them with a particular problem that they don't know how to answer, Disney is not going to be that company that's going to bring you in to look at all of Disney. They just wouldn't do that.
Yeah. They're going to ask you how to entertain people who are waiting for more than 90 minutes in line to ride one of their more popular rides. That's going to be a very specific thing that you're going to research, as an example. Okay, so Tiki wants to do Live Nation. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose something within Live Nation to research. Perhaps the Ticketmaster service, perhaps the House of Blues brand of live venues, as an example. Or maybe you will choose to research a tour that they produce.
Did you see Ingrid's comment there, Nikki? She was talking about using Adidas as the parent and looking at Reebok, and she wanted to know if Reebok was too big or if she should focus beyond that.
I think our recommendation would be that Reebok is still too big because they have athletic shoes, athletic apparel, athletic equipment, men's, women's, and children's. So you're going to want to narrow it down a little bit more. Now, as an example, I had a student very recently do a very successful report on the technical side of athletic apparel. And, and it was within Under Armour, but they did compression shirts and compression athletic wear, and looked at several business lines within that division, and talked about how athletic wear is moving in a technical direction, and was able to make comparisons to competitors within Nike and Adidas and other major sports apparel brands. So as an example, if you go that deep, you can actually be very successful with it. And it's more real life if you do.
If your company has lots and lots of products that are in different target markets, like Nikki mentioned, yeah. Children.
Jim, you're real quiet. You've kind of faded into the background.
I faded into the background.
Yeah, unusual for you, but you did just this one.
Yes. If as Nikki was saying, if there's a lot of products and they have they cut across a broad swath of different target markets, that should be your clue that it's too big.
Yeah. Any other questions about the first week's assignment before we move very quickly through everything else, because we are going to have another go to training and we can dive deep later. Okay, so moving forward, we're just going to share with you really quickly what happens in week 2. You do get to talk about those analysis tools that we promised you, and that somebody, I forget who, mentioned, Anthony, I think you mentioned this a little earlier, doing a strengths and weakness analysis. You get to do that in week 2. We do something called an environmental, where we look at what's happening inside the company and outside the company. We focus on 2 very important and useful analysis tools called the steeple and the SWOT. Of course, the SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, while the steeple stands for, are you ready? Take a deep breath. Sociological, technological, ecological, environmental, political, legal, and ethical. How'd I do? I didn't even look. But you get the idea. This is a situational analysis, and we make all these suggestions to you as to areas of the world to look at. And what that will help you do is develop a much richer SWOT and identify probably much more relevant strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that impact your company today. So that will be the focus of the preliminary research effort that you do in week 2. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So moving forward very quickly to week 3, I'm going to talk to you about both the discussion board and the larger research-based activity. I know that Jim has something that he wants to share with you about buyer personas. This is our discussion board in week 3. Buyer personas are tons of fun because we get to create them and we get to be creative. And the whole purpose of a buyer persona is to create something that resembles or stands in for a real human being that might be interested in buying our product or service. While they are fictionalized representations of real buyers, they really help us in multiple departments within our brand speak directly to our potential buyers. They help the product design department, they help the marketing department, they help the customer service department. So they're extremely useful. We'll give you a template for doing that, but we want you to be sincere about trying to develop a persona for the brand that you're researching all month that's really useful to that brand and could help drive business to the brand. And Jim will tell you more about why.
Nikki always sets me like that, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to talk about? I had a student who would have gotten an A on their buyer persona if they had been in a journalism class or a creative writing class, because it was really well done from a standpoint of being funny. Their buyer was a young man who didn't have a job, who lived at home and ate chips all day. And the company that this particular individual was developing persona for was a chip company. I don't remember which one it was, but Doritos, somebody. And so it was all about how they would eat Doritos and on their mother's couch, and didn't really want to go to work, because then that would mean that they wouldn't have as much time to sit on the couch and eat Doritos. And there were some other things in there that really actually made it really, really kind of funny. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for you to, first, they did not get an A, needless to say. They didn't get a B either, so we won't go how far down they went. But in my class, that wouldn't get a good grade at all. That shows really a lack of either understanding of what the persona is and how it's used, or just a disregard for the seriousness of the assignment. Nikki's already told you how other departments use the persona. So what we're looking for, it doesn't have to be long, but it needs to look at something about the individual and their circumstances. If you're in the marketing department, the advertising department, you're sitting there trying to think of who you're trying to speak to. I mean, if you can imagine doing that day after day, year after year, you're trying to envision something to help you create the message that gets across to these individuals. And sometimes it helps to imagine someone. Maybe you could imagine your uncle or your cousin or your aunt or your mom or your children or somebody. But that's what the personas do. It's a fictional account, and it's not about the life of the person in the account. I've had students in their response post say, well, do you think John ever got along with his parents? And it's like, what happened in the next episode? That sort of misses the point of the exercise. You're developing it because you're really saying, I think there's a contingent of people in my target market, as diverse as it is, that this person represents, and I'm presenting it to help these individuals in all these departments that Nikki mentions. So that's why you want to take it seriously.
In discussion 3, in week 3, there are some great examples of buyer personas that we've PDF'd and attached to the bottom of the instructions, and they were all written by former students. So you can look to those as a way to get started. So thank you for that, Jim. I appreciate it. Okay, anybody have any questions about buyer personas? Okay. So again, very quickly, in week 3, we focus on analysis practice. Who remembers a game called Practice Marketing that you did very briefly when you were in Introduction to Marketing a few months ago? Okay. You only had to do it for maybe 8 turns, so you were just kind of getting familiar with it. So our gift to you, we hope you think this is a gift, is you get to sign in for a brand new game. You have a license, so you don't have to get a new license. You have to sign in and register for a brand new game that we've created for you, and you get to play the game for 32 quarters or 8 whole years. Think about the money you can make in that length of time. We have students who make hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even $1 million or more. So we encourage you to have fun with this. Remember the 4 P's that you learned in marketing: product, price, place, and promotion, right? And imagine that you are a real marketing director and you are analyzing environmental cues and responding to the marketplace in real time with every turn in this game that you take. It's almost like a virtual internship for a marketing analyst. So Vanessa says she played the game for about 20 turns. Yeah. Again, 8 full years of turns. And we even set it up so that if you don't like your results in the first game, you can play another game. So you get 2 chances to play and make as much money as you possibly can. So this is very informative. Again, it's practicing what we preach. Now we've practiced with environmental research, and now we are using this platform, this interactive game, to respond to environmental cues that the game generates for us, and using the 4 P's of marketing to properly position our brand so that we can make the most money possible.
And you're not graded on how much money you make or whether you lose money or not.
That's right. You're only graded on how well you reflect on your performance in the game. What did you do well? What did you not do so well? And what did you learn from it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you are graded on whether you play the game or not.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at the rubric, you'll see all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. You basically get half your credit just for finishing the game, even if you didn't make a lot of money. We just want to see you try. Okay. Want to share with you a little something they do in the classroom. One of the benefits of being online is you can work whenever you want to. One of the benefits of being on campus is that you actually get to sit a few feet away from your instructor, and that gives us an opportunity to, be a little more physical, get up, move around the room, have kind of a gallery approach to things. One of the things that we do on campus is we talk about the importance of the raft approach. And what that is understanding what your role is when you're trying to communicate. So in the case of our course this month, your role is an analyst, a market analyst, in fact. Understanding who your audience is. For the purposes of this class, your audience is your client. So it will be someone with decision-making power at the brand that you're researching. The format is more or less provided for you, and it's going to be a formal business report template. And then the topic will be of your choosing. Now, normally when you do analysis for a client, you'll have a work agreement up front, and you will know what the objective is, and you will know what the delivery date is up front. For our purposes, we know what the delivery date up front is. It's the 4th Sunday of the term. But the objective, we're going to leave up to you, because once you get enough research under your belt, you're going to be the expert about that brand, and you will have a really good idea of what's important to that brand right now and what a real decision maker may have asked you as the contracted analyst to investigate on their behalf to help them do better in the future. Right? So the topic we leave up to you. This is also kind of specific to your digital portfolios, because you need to have in mind what role you want to occupy when you graduate and who you're trying to reach with your words and your pictures and your work samples that you put on your digital portfolio. So the raft exercise is kind of twofold. It helps get you out of that I'm a student doing work for a teacher mindset, and instead get you into that I'm an analyst doing work for a client mindset. And it also reminds you of the importance of the raft approach when you're putting together your digital portfolio as well. Anyone have any questions or comments? What, not even Jim? I'm almost disappointed.
I was coughing.
That's okay. So that brings us to week 4, where we do our market analysis report. And don't worry, we'll talk in more detail about some tips and I guess just really good advice on the best way to put it together. When we come back together in week 3, and we'll talk about that in more detail, we will talk to you about how to write good executive summaries, which is kind of the introductory part. We'll talk to you about how to write good recommendations, which is the very last part and the whole purpose that you write the report. What we can share with you right now is that you will see that there is a logical flow to the way that you are doing the research. We start with findings. Findings lead to conclusions, and conclusions lead to recommendations. So as we ask you to do research in these major activities that are due, in weeks 1, 2, and 4, we ask you only to summarize findings in week 1, because that's first. And then we ask you to summarize conclusions, that's your insights, in week 2, because that comes next. And then in week 4, when you put it all together in a formal report, we ask you to develop recommendations, because that comes last. And I think that's a very important tenet that we can communicate with you right now to help you get a really good 30,000 foot view of the course. And what we're trying to accomplish is that you gather the raw data first, and only once you do that can you summarize into findings. And then only once you do that can you create new realizations or develop the insights, the analysis, as it were, that your client is looking for. And then finally, only after you do that can you develop recommendations that will help drive real decisions, future-oriented action steps that you recommend for your client. Okay? So does that kind of make sense where we're going with this? Okay. Jarrell says he probably has many questions, and you'll realize that you have lots of questions as time goes by, but that's what we're here for. That's what we get paid for. So please don't feel like, you only get, 3 questions a term or something like that. And then you're at that, three swings and you're out. You can talk to us as much as you want. And, we like to help. We want you to do better. And, we like you checking in to make sure that you're on the right path, because we don't want you to misunderstand anything, and we want you to get as much as possible out of this course and out of this program. So please communicate with us.
I would like to add one thing. Obviously, each portfolio is built around a different theme. This portfolio course is built around strategic marketing and the development of a strategic marketing plan. Strategy starts with getting as much information as you can about yourself and the people you compete against, and all within the environment. That's why the steeple helps you look at, are there any issues out here in the environment that I need to make sure I look into in terms of how they affect my company. And the SWOT analysis focuses more specifically on which of those have a real meaning and bearing on your company in each of these 4 areas. Mm-hmm. Having said that, this course is heavy on research. And if you will look at the grading sheet that's posted, you'll see that there's a lot of points associated with doing the research, and it's not the same number of references each week. It changes. So if you think, well, I'm just going to put 3 links down each week, you're going to lose a lot of points, because in the assignments, the research has to be put in APA format, and the number of citations each week is different. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5. So be sure to give yourself enough time each week to begin doing some of the research. You don't have to do it all at one time. And sometimes your research is just getting things laid up, or lined up to say, okay, here's 7 things that I want to go and explore for my company, and maybe you work on it the next day. But don't let that slip up on you. This is not none of these assignments are going to be things you can do well on if you wait until about 8 o'clock on Sunday night. It's not going to be good.
Probably not. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Okay, so does anyone have a question that they thought of right now? If not, that's okay. Like I said, we're available and we want to help. Okay. All right. Well, in the interest of being respectful of your time, we'll go ahead and wrap up the formal presentation. And thank you guys so much for being here. We do have a few minutes left, so we will hang around in case you're mulling over a question and want to ask one. And for those of you who need to take off, super nice to talk to you. Have a great evening, and we'll see you again soon, we hope.
Bye, everybody.